Good afternoon. This is Emerson with Atago. Good afternoon. This is Emerson with Atago, and today we'll be presenting the PAL-HIKARi, the model specifically for Kiwi, PAL-HIKARi 8. If you have any questions, you can put the questions on chat, and then we can, after we finish every segment, we can start answering them, or at the end if you have any questions. So this is the case for the PAL-HIKARi. I think it might look backwards on your screen. No? Okay. This is the PAL-HIKARi, PAL-HIKARi 8. This is the version specifically for Kiwi. And here we have a couple of Kiwis that we are going to test for demonstration. These ones are from New Zealand, Zespri. So to start off with, the box you get it in is the usual white box for the PAL. And as you open it, you're going to find a few things that are in there, like the user manual. We're gonna go to this a bit later on, and also in a couple of weeks we're gonna release a video for the PAL-HIKARi 8 for Kiwi. The other document that we have in here is the document for data transfer. So the instrument does save 100 readings. Then you can transfer that to a cell phone or a mobile or a computer if you have an NFC receiver. This is more on that. We also have these cushions that we're going to talk about later. It's replacement cushions for the cushions that are already installed there. And we have the inspection certificate. This inspection certificate, not sure how clear you can see it on screen, but it'll have the model, it'll have the serial number, the true Brix value, and the Brix it measured. Okay. And lastly, we're going to have the PAL-HIKARi. So the PAL-HIKARi this model comes with a silicone cover. In the back, you have the serial number. So if you want to access the serial number, you have to take off the silicone cover. And here, I'm not sure if you can appreciate it, you have two serial numbers. The top serial number will match your certificate. And the bottom serial number, we're going to take a look at it later. It's the unique identification number for NFC. So when you do transfer the data to a receiver, whether it be a mobile phone or a computer, this serial number is going to show up on the device so you can identify where the reading is coming from. Okay, and sorry, let me put this back on. So the instrument already has the batteries inside. Yeah, so let's turn it on by pressing the start button. And to go over the parts, we already went over the silicone cover that's protecting the instrument and the serial number. This part is the rubber hood. The rubber hood is there to protect light, external light from going in. So here you have the light sensor. Let's go from the outside. This is the light sensor, and here you have the thermometer, the infrared thermometer. This cushion is to divide the light that's going to come from this ring of LEDs. So you have a ring of LEDs that are going to send light to the fruit, and the fruit is going to glow or bounce the light back into the sensor. So you have two barriers that are supposed to block light. This hood is supposed to block external light from getting in there, and this cushion is supposed to block the light from the ring to directly going in there. The only light that's supposed to go on here is the one that's glowing off of this. Not sure if that's clear. So those are the pieces: the rubber hood. This ring you see here is the LED ring. This is a cushion to block light, light sensor, and thermometer. Okay. Then you also have a side button. You can press start. To take a reading, you can press start, or you can also press this button. If you're using it on the table, then it might be easier to press start. But if you are measuring on the vine or on the tree, and if the fruit is hanging, then it's easier to press this to take the reading of Brix. So that's why we have two buttons to take the reading. Okay. So let's start by taking a few readings. Okay, sorry. The display, on the display we have three things. We have the battery indicator showing us how good the battery is. We have the temperature. This is the temperature of the last reading. And we also have the Brix that it took. In this case, it's N because there's no fruit there. So to take a reading of the fruit, we place the fruit on here, and we try to make sure that there's no leakage of light from outside in, and then we press start. The difference with the traditional method of refractometers is that if you want to know the true Brix of the fruit, you should take a few readings. So you take this reading on this side, and then you take different reading on another side, and then you take another reading, 3 or 4 readings of different sides of the fruit, and then the average of those is the Brix of your fruit. Okay. It is normal to get different Brix readings from side to side because physically the fruit is not homogeneous in Brix. The different sides have different Brix depending on where the sun sets, where the sun is up, depending if it's hanging, the angle that is hanging. So just take different readings of the fruit at different angles, and then the average is the Brix of the fruit. Okay. In this case, we also have a different shaped fruit. I think this is the golden kiwi, and this is the other traditional kiwi that I've seen. This one has a little bit more fuzz. So when you are reading with this, make sure that you clean the fuzz from the LED and from the sensor, because if the LED or the sensor is covered in the fuzz, it might interrupt the reading, or it might deviate the reading from the real Brix. Now, the things that can affect the reading are mostly temperature. This instrument does have temperature compensation, and as we saw before, it does have a thermometer to take the reading of the fruit. But it is suggested that both the fruit and the instrument be acclimated to the same temperature. So if the fruit is changing in temperature, whether because ambient temperature is changing or because the core temperature is different than the outside, that difference in temperature can make the reading a little different, the result a little different. So make sure that the instrument and the fruit are acclimated to the same temperature and are stable. Another thing that can affect the reading of the instrument is your hand. The temperature of your hand, if you're holding the fruit too much, then that can change the temperature of the fruit, and then when you do put it on, it can change the reading. So try to be hands-off with the fruit. If you're not going to be using it, then keep it on the side. And if you're going to touch it, either wear a glove or be quick with putting it on there and taking the reading. How much size are you supposed to take the reading? How much size of the fruit? It depends on the size of the fruit. For example, for mangoes, you might take 4. For kiwis, 2 or 3. So here, as you can see, I have 2 circles. To later test for myself the Brix of the fruit. So I would test this side and then this side. And if I want to compare to a traditional PAL, like this, then I can cut open the fruit and squeeze this side and juice it and I'll put it there so I can compare if needed. The other thing that can affect the reading is the distance of the fruit from the sensor. So if you're setting it like that versus pressing it down, the reading can change a little. So I always try to have the same procedure when taking the reading of the fruit. Now, I mentioned before data transfer. So the data transfer, the information that gets transferred is date, time, temperature, and Brix. So for example, the NFC sensor of the instrument is right below here. My phone's NFC is right behind here. So if I open an NFC app, like NFC Tools, for example, then I press read, make sure my Hikari is on. Okay. And then you have some information about the instrument. This serial number here that you see, I'm not sure if you can tell on the screen, this serial number will match the serial number, the second serial number on the back of the instrument. Not sure if you can tell, it's clear. So the serial number is, well, it ends with 086A as an apple, and that's what the serial number ends with here. So this is the way that you can identify which instrument the readings came from. And when you press, well, the readings, you're gonna get the date, the time, the temperature, sorry, the date, the time, the Brix, and the temperature. If you see NNN, that was because the reading was not, I didn't have a fruit at the time. Okay. Now to the last section of the presentation. I've gotten a few questions. I bet you guys are wondering, where do all these instruments fit? Now we have here the traditional digital refractometer. This is a PAL-3. Most of you would have either this one or blue one. This is a PAL-Brix acid. And we also have here a palette. So in some parts of New Zealand, I'm told the instrument that's being used to measure the Brix of Kiwi is this one, the palette series, which has an accuracy of 0.1. So does this green PAL-3, accuracy of 0.1. So the way this fits with all this is that currently the traditional digital refractometers have are the most accurate for now. This technology Atago has been developing and improving, but for the most accurate way to read your fruit, it would be for now the traditional way. The Hikari is here for when you don't want to damage the fruit, whether it be because the fruit is still on the vine, because you have a limited amount of fruits, or because of profit. Some supermarkets might not carry that much and they don't want to waste fruits, or a seller doesn't want to waste their fruit. So whenever you don't want to waste your fruit or can't waste your fruit, you can't damage your fruit, then that's where the Hikari comes in for that type of need. So it's not meant to replace the traditional digital refractometer, is meant to complement the Atago lines that we already have.
So we do have one question. I believe someone is asking if it's possible to measure for grapes as well.
Yes. So
for the PAL-HIKAri?
Yes. So we have a few Hikari models. This one is specifically for Kiwi. The Hikari models are not as universal as the traditional PALs like this one. So these PALs, they're universal because whatever liquid you put on here is gonna take the reading, whether it be grape or grape juice or apple or kiwis, is gonna take the reading. These models, because they rely on sending light to the fruit and then having the fruit glow or reflect that light into the sensor, the composition of the fruit, the way the fibers are on side are different. Mangoes are different than kiwis are different than grapes. So because of that, because the fruit physically is different, then the Hikari series are not interchangeable. So the Hikari for kiwi is supposed to be for kiwi. The one for grapes are for grapes. The one for mangoes are for mangoes. Okay. I also wanted to highlight one more thing that the Hikari has. The Hikari does come with an NFC function. Sorry, not NFC function, an offset function. If for some reason you have multiple Hikaris and they're all are reading just slightly different and you want them to read the same, you can use the offset function to have them read the same. If for some reason you need to compare or are comparing it with the traditional refractometer, make sure you keep in mind the accuracy of this plus the accuracy of this. But if it's still a little off, then you can use the offset feature on the Hikari to bring it closer to what you like in whatever traditional method you're using.
We have another question. He would like to know, is there any way to verify Brix results like we do for PAL series using sucrose solutions?
Yes, good question. Not for this one. If you want to do any type of verification that it's working correctly, then you would have to test it with your traditional refractometer. So for example, here I spoke about these two circles. So what I would do is, well, you can always send it into a service center just to get it checked. But if you want to check it yourself, you can, in this example, take the reading of this side, take the reading of this side, cut the fruit in half, cut out this circle, squeeze it, juice it, and test it on the refractometer, and then do the same with this. So that way, you're testing the same fruit at the same time, not a day later or 2 days later, and you can compare the readings. And if something is a little off, then you can use the offset feature to adjust it closer to what you need.
So this question isn't on the chat right now, but one question I get a lot is when customers are already using a refractometer, they have to calibrate with water. Yes. Do you have to do that for the PAL-HIKAri?
Yeah. So the PAL-HIKAri, it's a different type of refractometer. It uses 3 different lights and it uses infrared. So it already comes pre-calibrated with different points, including, well, the full range of the instrument. This one is 11 to 20, so just below 11 and just above 20. It doesn't have any standard. You don't zero set it with air. I'm sorry, you don't zero set it with water. You don't confirm it or calibrate it with sucrose. It doesn't need it.
From other common questions for the PAL-HIKAri series, just in general, people want to know if the peel color or if the color of the fruit will affect the measurements.
Atago does extensive research before we release one of these instruments, and as an employee, I really enjoy when R&D is working on these instruments, because depending what fruit they're studying, we get tons and tons of fruit in the lab, and you can just smell the fruit in the air. We do test, for example, if we're going to do mangoes, we test it with different shaped mangoes, with different color mangoes, as much variety mangoes that we can get. The same thing goes with kiwi, the same thing with apples. We get as much variety that we can in different colors, and we see if color is an issue. If color is an issue, if size is an issue, then we would state that in the user manual. That's why the temperature compensation for each hikari is a little different. Like for the hikari for grape, the temperature compensation range might be different than the kiwi, might be different than the mango, because each fruit is affected different by temperature. So we study color, we study size, we study temperature. All of that is done by R&D, and it will be stated clearly if there's any issue with any of those details.
Another question. So what is the difference between readings when you press the fruit on the prism and not pressing? Is it significant? I think what they're asking is if you're pressing it against the PAL-HIKARi, or if you're just laying it.
Well, it's...
please clarify if we misinterpret your question.
Yeah. So let me take off this hood here. This is the light sensor. You have a cushion, you have your fruit. So if your fruit is closer, then the light is a little bit more intense. If the fruit is a little farther away, then it's a little less intense. So that's why you're looking for using it the same way every time, so you can have repeatable readings. If one time you're pressing and if another time you're not, the readings might be a little different. Now, how much different? It depends on the fruit. So let's do a test here. For some fruits, it's not much different. At some temperatures, but at different temperature it is. So for example, right now it's showing 13.7 Brix. Let's test that again. 13.8, 13.7. Now let me press it a little. 14.7. So the difference right now, pressing it versus just holding it, is 1 Brix. But if you take a look at the user manual, the accuracy of the instrument is 1.5 Brix. So yes, you get a different Brix when you press it, but it's still within the accuracy of the instrument.
So question, they would like to just clarify. So is the proper way to measure to press it or not to press it?
There is no proper way. You decide which way you want to do it, and you keep doing it that way. So as long as you do it the same way, what you're looking at is repeatability. Because remember that this instrument has a coefficient factor. So if the difference is still within accuracy, then the instrument is still reading within accuracy. If you need to adjust that for your peace of mind when you compare to another PAL, then you can adjust it. As long as you're doing it the same way always, then any adjustment you do to the offset will help the accuracy of it. So for example, let's say I read this at 13 Brix, just setting it like that. If I press it down, let's say it reads it at 14 Brix, okay? Then I cut this fruit and I test it on a PAL-1 or a PAL-3, okay? And it reads 13.5. So now I know that setting it reads it at 13, pressing it reads it at 14, but according to this, the Brix is 13.5. So now I know which way I want to go with this.
Another question. So which one is more closer to the usual reading with PAL-3? I think they're asking again about pressing and not pressing?
That's something you would have to do on your own because the result will vary depending on the fruit, depending on the temperature, depending on you. So if you really want to know which is the best method, pressing or just setting, then this is what you would do. You would take the fruit, take the reading, just setting it, and then you would take the fruit and you press it and take the reading. Now you have two different readings. Then you would cut the fruit and test it on the PAL, and then see which one is closer to the reading on the traditional refractometer. In some cases, there's a lot of difference. In some cases, it's not. Also remember, my preference is just to set it because I want to save the fruit. If I start pressing it, if it's ripe, then I can damage the fruit. My preference is to set it, but you find out what is best for you guys. Especially in some cases, remember that this rubber hood is there to protect the sensor from external light, and this cushion is there to protect the sensor from this light. So if you have a small fruit, maybe you might want to press to protect from external light. If you have bigger fruit, then maybe not. My preference is just to set it so I don't damage the fruit.
Another question we get from users in general for the PAL-HIKARi series is about cleaning of that sample stage. You mentioned before to just get the fuzzies off.
Yes.
But what if any more extensive cleaning needs to be done? How would you recommend?
Well, this instrument is not meant to come in contact with liquids. You're not meant to put water here or sucrose here or juice here. So this is mostly a dry instrument. Even though it has an IP rating, it's not meant to be getting wet. If you need to clean it and it's just fuzz, like in this case, then just an air spray would do. If you got a little moisture because of humidity or the fruit was not completely dry or something, then you can just take a cloth and wipe the LED and wipe this off. This will get worn out with time, depending if you're pressing or not, or if you, depending on the type of fruit. And that's why we have these cushions, so you can replace it.
We have another question. Does it work in near infrared spectrum?
Yes, it's not visible to your eye. It has, I think it's a couple, 3. I'm not sure how many LEDs, but yes, it does use a few different light sources to take the reading, and it's not visible to your eye. So if you turn it on a cell phone, yes, you might see little blips come on, but to your eye, you're not going to see anything turn on. Any more questions? No? All right, so if you guys don't have any questions, I guess this brings this presentation to an end. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have, we will be emailing you, but if you want to get in contact with us, our email address is overseas@atago.net. Once we have the video for the PAL-HIKARi Kiwi for you guys ready, then we're gonna send that out also. And always check our YouTube channel. We're usually uploading new videos, and the Hikari will be next. Thank you very much.